Hey, hello, you're stuck in trouble with Wolf Gorlick, a few minutes riffing and IT security. Today looking at logging in with Apple ID. Big announcement from the Apple folks yesterday. Lots of buzz from the Apple folks 24 hours ago. Everyone's up in arms because the trash can is no longer a trash can. Computers look like cheese graters, and apparently monitor stands cost $1,000. You can Google all that. But what excited me was the fact that now you can log in using your Apple ID. OAuth, right? OAuth has come in, and there's some really interesting things that Apple has implemented. I'll get to those in just a minute. One of the tips for you, though, is this. Take a look at it. Be prepared to think about it. Be prepared if you're working with apps to integrate it. But for most users, it's a great time to talk about the value or lack thereof about using federated IDs. Federated IDs have been around for a while. Using OAuth, you can log in using Google. Using OAuth, you can log in using Facebook. What Google and Facebook do when you click the login button is they provide that application a token, and they provide a email address and a name and a couple other things via the authentication API. Pros to this is now you don't necessarily need to create your own usernames and passwords on every site from a user perspective. Not really a big hurdle if you're using a password manager, if I'm honest. I create usernames all the time. I'm not a big fan actually of using Google or Facebook, because the cons to that is if your Facebook ID gets screwed up or your Google ID gets screwed up, now everything's screwed up. But then you're balancing. Is it more likely that my Facebook ID is going to be screwed up, or is it more likely that this one-off application that I just connected to would get hacked? Because one-off applications are not necessarily well known for protecting their user IDs and passwords. All right, so you're kind of like balancing. But of course, whenever you have something that brings everything together, you have a bigger pool of risk, but hopefully better budget for security. And Google and Facebook have been hammered a lot over the past few years, and therefore Google and Facebook have been putting in place a lot of privacy and security features over the last few years, at least more than your average single-use website that a lot of us are using to connect to. Apple ID, of course, is taking aim at this market primarily because do you trust Facebook? Probably not. Do you trust that Google's not monetizing and keeping track of everything you log into? Probably not. Apple's trying to make a name in the consumer space for being more privacy friendly, more security friendly, and they're definitely making some major strides in that area. So it makes sense. But the one thing I think is really cool, and this gets back to privacy and security, the one thing that is very innovative for me with Apple ID is this idea of one-time or one-channel email addresses. So I'm running an application, and you're like, hey, I want to log into Wolf's app. I'm like, yes. I'm like, I don't want to write a whole office. You're like, okay, good. Log in with Apple ID. I'm like, yes. And now I've got this password and email, or I'm sorry, no password. Whoa, no password. No. Email. Yes. And now I'm like, hey, I will send you an email and tell you about how great Wolf 2.0 is, and Wolf 3.0 is coming. And by the way, click subscribe and ring the bell. Those emails you get all the time, and you hate them. I hate them. Everyone hates them. Most of us have like fake or unused email boxes to subscribe and sign up for things for this very reason. Apple adds this feature to their login where they generate a email address specific for that account. You can disable it at any time. So you can receive email for a while if you want. You can disable it so you don't have to receive email. It's pretty dang neat. Now that means a multitude of new email addresses being spun up. And it's really a response to all the work that's been going on, eroding privacy and eroding security as organizations try and monetize the web. Now we got our own IDs, our own fake email addresses. What could possibly go wrong? What do you think about logging in with Apple ID? Hit me up in comments and social media. Cheers.